like the seats of an 86 Delta 88 coupe on D's and bones, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Going live in a minute, Blizzard King. This is Winter Dinner Spurling Podcast. You are rocking with the realest black men represented. Ain't no lies, cause we winning. Catching flies, ain't no feelings. Uncle D, we the villain, baby. We just left the village, baby. Now we in them villas, baby. Dinner Spurling Podcast, tuning in, we get it, baby. You can hate the player, hate the game. We love all you haters. Hate watch, hate watch. Calling lovely ladies, hands on your knees. You can thank us later. We snatching the crowns off of queens. We obliterate them. Tell the truth, shame the devil. They trying to eliminate us. You begging the sipping haters. Peeling layers off potatoes. Whoa. Southern Cadillac music like Outkast. Ain't jumping without bass. Dinner Spurling Podcast. Whoa. Southern Cadillac music like Outkast. Ain't jumping without bass. Dinner Spurling Podcast. Whoa.
We have to clean up what's going on in our house before we do anything else. Have pride in yourselves. Don't be so hard on yourselves. That's the other thing. Don't let this world keep kicking you and making you feel like you're not good enough. You plenty. I don't care if you're 10 pounds, 50 pounds overweight, 30 pounds underweight. You don't make enough money. You make too much money. You're too tall. You're too short. You're perfect the way you are. And I want you brothers to begin to take that. A lot of you guys did not have father figures to reinforce these things in you. You don't have that manly, fatherly love supporting you in the back of your head saying, son, you can go out there. The world is yours. I'm not your father's, but I love you like I'm your own uncle. We all want people. And so I'm telling you, brothers, I love you as a person that most people would say is successful. I'm telling you, the opportunity is out there. And most of you guys are doing much better than I was at your age. You're more confident. You got the world, you got the benefit of people like me who've made mistakes. And I want to see you ball. That's it. A settling trend has emerged. The liberals have lost the presidential race. And rather than examining the shortcomings of Kamala Harris's campaign, much of the media is directing blame towards black men. Black men somehow bear responsibility for this outcome as if our choices at the ballot box were an act of betrayal.
Quit breaking my heart. Hey. Big bass. Ooh, quit breaking my heart. Oh,
you hate black women. You can't say you don't now.
They'll start killing you young one by one by one. They gonna start killing y'all.
When the police got your ass in the mother chokehold.
Don't you come calling black women. Don't you come calling us to come march for your ass.
Cause y'all just fucking hate women. That's all it is. Of course they wouldn't go vote for no black lady. When you a black woman surrounded by black men, what? So that's a good candidate for you? Someone who just hates everybody?
Bad guy, blame me, never faded. How you be the most loved and the most hated? Every other race you respect overrated. The greatest of all time first got created. Yeah. Bad guy, blame me, never faded. How we be the most loved and the most hated. Every other race you respect overrated. The greatest of all time first got created. Ooh. You can scrub me or even thug me. Baby, even at my worst, they still love me. How he locked up, she loyal to a known G. To leave your husband, he ain't giving you strong D. Gotta tighten up when we on your defense. A lot of debauchery popping in the deep end. See your corners ain't shutting down, hit the bench. A lot of suckers sipping on the Kool-Aid, you a simp. Bring it back home to the streets. Like father, like son, Lil Meech, Big Meech. Like Bronny in his dad footsteps trying to follow. We ain't gonna let you make it. nigga endorsing Kamala. Black men celebrate, pop a few bottles. Middle fingers up, rest in peace, now follow. Most loved, most hated, most hated. We passing out fades, anybody wanna fade it? Be careful what you wish for, all my lovely ladies. Cause every baby terminated, God gon' make you haters. Most loved, most hated, most hated. Passing out fades, anybody wanna fade it? Careful what you wish for, all my lovely ladies. Cause every baby terminated, God gon' make you haters on. That guy, blame me, never faded. How we be the most loved and the most hated? Every other race you respect overrated. Greatest of all, first got created. Bad guy, blame me, never faded. How you be the most loved and the most hated? Every other race you respect overrated. Greatest of all time, first got created. Black men, they told us they ain't even want us. No matter what is going on, put the blame on us. Kevin spoke up, then they put the shame on us.
Brother Spurling met his fiance in my mixed group. That's my wife. I'm gonna put her through law school. She's gonna become an attorney at my practice. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Blizzard King defended him, they put the flames on him. Election time, white women went Trump crazy. Left you standing there talking about deleting babies.
Black women so goddamn stupid that y'all just allow society to say that she's a black woman.
Not hers, Maria or Jackie Chan. You the only one that went against your man. You the only one that's fighting for every plan. You the only one that left you right where you stand. Power is a mother. Ain't it? Make a woman wanna be a nah, ain't it? That's your uncle, but she used to be your auntie. We don't wanna see you in power, that's how you paint it. Original Big Mama, original Miss Mammy, original Ma Dear.
I'm Donald Trump's new communication director because all the rest of them sorry asses got fired.
Yeah, original Black Granny. What happened to you? You fell for the eye candy. You left your black man, your black family. Took them handouts, them goodies and giveaways. Just look around your hood, see this the price you pay.
In Georgia, it was even worse. One exit poll said that 69% of white women voted for Trump. Even after he took away their reproductive rights and was found liable for sexual assault, the majority of white women voters still chose patriarchy over their own liberation.
That's it.
It's that simple.
Bad guy, blame me, never faded. How you be the most loved and the most hated? Every other race you respect overrated. The greatest of all time first got created. Ooh.
That 69% of white women voted for Trump.
Yeah, bad guy, blame me, never faded. How we be the most loved and the most hated. Every other race you respect overrated. Greatest of all time first got created. Ooh.
69% of white women voted for Trump.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Ooh.
I'm tired. Black women, it's time for us to clock out. It's time for us to clock out. I'm telling you. When all the immigrants,
Few moments
all the Puerto
later.
Ricans start getting deported, we clocked out. We not riding.
Independence Day. On August 15th, 1947, men and women all over India rejoiced in the declaration of the independence of the country of India. Today, on August 15th, 2020, I stand before you as the first candidate for Vice President of the United States of South Asian descent. So I hope you celebrate today, and then tomorrow, I hope you join me in getting to work.
Is this your game? Is this your game?
The 47th President of the United States.
The former president's comeback will be complete with a win in Wisconsin, a state that he narrowly lost 4 years ago. He's now the second president in U.S. history to win non-consecutive terms. The first is
My bad, can you guys hear me? Hit the number one button if you can. My bad, y'all. Like I'm saying, while you all couldn't hear me, I got caught up into that video, man. That was pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. Big shout out, real powerful. In fact, shout out to Big Bass Life.
One demographic that voted heavily for Trump. You have several groups, but one demographic I want to talk about is black men.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, black men. You remember how you were all riled up with George Floyd and the other shootings, the police killings? You remember Donald Trump's response and what he said to do with you? Okay, you remember Kyle Rittenhouse, the white dude who shot those people with the AK in the street when they were protesting? A police killing? The little KKK boy, I think he was 17. And you remember when Donald Trump invited him to Mar-a-Lago or to the White House, wherever, because he shot a black man?
Girl, good night. Pick a bed and go to sleep.
Who was protesting the death of another man by police? That's what you all want. So you see, you all motherfuckers, anytime a police stop you and put their knees in your motherfucking neck or shoot you in the back when you're running, motherfuckers, I want your family to come out and start rioting. Hey! 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 Y'all think you can come out and riot? And you love to burn shit down? Okay, come out. I'm waiting. I want them to unleash the military and the motherfucking asses. Take the military and the police on you. That's what's gonna happen. And I can't blame him because that's what y'all said you wanted. And you say, I'ma vote for you because this is what I want. I want you to set the police on us. I want you to set the military on us. I want you to take away our rights to protest. And I want you to grant the police immunity so when they kill us and abuse us, assault us, they cannot be charged or be held responsible. That's what I'm voting for Donald Trump. I'm a black man. And that's what I want you to do, Donald. That's what I want you to do. I'm a black man. I am a man. Yeah. That's what I want you to do. Take away my rights. Give the police immunity so when they put their knee in my neck, they have the right to do it and they have no responsibility or nothing. My family will get no justice. My children will not know their dad.
I beg your pardon?
And they will not get no justice. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, the thing could immune. Oh, the thing could immune from this police brutality. Huh? Wait for him. That is something to remember. Donald Trump promised to a black man. Ask about a Jamaican black man. We say we don't have work for Kamala. Huh? I don't have a mother. So I don't think so the mother did good enough for raise, you know? I'm good enough to make decision and a whole pound of raised by a single mother household. Whole pound of the black man raising a single mother household. Single mother for the father. They gone and left for no mother we don't know. They raise about no good too. You understand me? I don't think that Kamala can make decisions for y'all's future. But y'all mother used to do it by herself without no father. Because you know a percentage of a black household will grow up without daddy in them household. Right? You know that. Uh-huh. So, baby, we waiting. Again, I'm mourning. I'm grieving. Still grieving. So it's going to be black all week.
Years to get a citizenship. I know some people need more time. I know some people don't ever get their citizenship, but we worked so hard for it. She worked so hard for it. I was just a kid. We came here because she wanted a better life for us. She wanted a better education for us. She wanted for us to have a better future. And now this is all gonna be taken away because of him. Because of that stupid. Oh my God. Stupid felon! He's a felon!
Sheriff, he's over here. God.
ICE director in the first Trump administration and supports Trump's mass deportation plan. Here's what he told 60 Minutes.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Why should a child who is an American citizen have to pack up and move to a country that they don't know?
Because their parent obviously entered the country illegally, had a child knowing he was in the country illegally, so he created that crisis.
As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. It's things like this that bring millions of people to our country, and they enter our country illegally. As part of
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people
a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Is there anything you'd like to respond to what you've heard today?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to Acting Chairman Jay Paul and your comment about the Trump administration moving money around for more detention beds. I'd like to remind you, under the Obama administration, we did that most of the years he was president. We moved money around DHS. It's called reprogramming. We did that under the Obama administration. I don't remember any hearings on that. And also, I'd like to remind you that under the Obama administration, I mean, you're quick to point out that the cages were built under Obama administration. I was there. Family detention, we had 100 family beds under Obama administration. We built 3,000 more. So when there was a surge in FY14 and FY15 on the border, Congress was quick to give all the money we needed to build detention facilities, get transportation contracts. We reprogrammed money out of the majority of the years she was president. That was fine. Under Obama administration, FY12, we removed 409,000 people, half of what was removed last year. There was no hearings on that. So this is about transparency. Let's be factual about it.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Since you did address some comments at me, I'll just say that I didn't like it under the Obama administration either. In fact,
but be honest with the American people. You can't point out faults in the Trump administration when it happened under the Obama administration. That's dishonesty. It's pathetic and it's sad.
Mr. Homan, I control the time and I am the chairwoman of the committee. Thank you for respecting that. I didn't like it under the Obama administration, and I'll remind you, Mr. Homan, that you also testified before Congress in support of the Obama's Priorities Enforcement Program before the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 19th, 2016, which had a very different approach.
Well, can I respond to that? Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course not.
And I want to give you some time, but I do want to ask one quick question, and I want to make one quick statement. I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive. I have 15 seconds and I yield it to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
Look, they gave me 5 minutes to say a few things, so if I offend anybody tonight, I don't give a shit. How many pounds of fentanyl didn't make in this country to kill Americans? How many known suspected terrorists didn't make it in the country? How many billions of dollars did the cartels make? President Trump is one badass president. He secured the border at a level we've never seen before. And I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that's been released into the United States under this administration. Don't get too comfortable. We're going to need some help. Do I have any volunteers that want to come back and help run the biggest deportation operation in the history of this nation? In January of 25, the greatest president of my lifetime walking back in the White House. He tells me, we got, I say 120 days. He says, no, you got 60 to lock the border down. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I told the president. He comes back, I come back, we fix this shit.
As the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
One. But the Biden-Harris administration reportedly bracing for a massive migrant surge before Trump takes office. This is in the next 90 days, 60 days. Smugglers are allegedly warning migrants they have until January to get into the United States before the 47th president locks down the border. Even before the election, senior Border Patrol and ICE officials reportedly raised concerns to the Department of Homeland Security and its head, Alejandro Mayorkas, saying that the agencies likely could not handle a potential surge if Trump won at year end. Trump began threatening consequences for the migrant caravans even before he secured the win. Watch.
Now we have a new president in Mexico. I'm going to inform her on day one or sooner that if they don't stop this onslaught of criminals and drugs coming into our country, I'm going to immediately impose a 25% tariff on everything they send in to the United States of America. Because if that doesn't work, I'll make it 50. And if that doesn't work, I'll make it 75 for the tough guys, and I'll make it 100.
There you go. He's using tariffs in a strategic way. Joining me now is Lieutenant Christopher Oliveras of the Texas Department of Public Safety. Lieutenant, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So I want to get your take on what you're expecting at year end. How likely are we going to see a big surge in migrants to try to get through before Trump takes office? What are you seeing on the ground right now, 2 days after the election?
Good morning, Maria. Great to be with you as always. Of course, now with this, that it's been confirmed now that President Trump will be the new president going into 2025. We do anticipate that we may see a surge of potential illegal immigration taking place on the border. There has been caravans. We talked about this several times, I believe, the last time I was on your show. Anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000, these groups that are making their way to the border. Now, again, once they get to the border or even to northern Mexico, they do break up into smaller groups, and they will try to make entry in other parts along the border: El Paso, New Mexico, California, Arizona, some parts in Texas. So we are ready. I've always said this, we are ready. We still have the same resources that we've had from day one with Operation Lone Star, the amount of soldiers and state troopers that we have on the ground. So we are ready for any potential surge. We've reinforced areas along the border where there is no border wall, where there is no reinforcements. We are placing barriers along those areas. And we're actually arresting illegal immigrants that are coming across the river that are committing state crimes. So we're sending a message in Texas that we're going to make it least desirable to cross in Texas. We want to make it very difficult as well, and that we're going to try to push that flow to the west, which would be Arizona and California and those areas. So we are ready for any potential surge moving forward. And of course, even after inauguration, we will still have a single amount of manpower because it is going to take some time to actually, restore some of the damage that's been taking place.
Welcome to the broadcast. Shout out to everybody in the chat room, man. Somebody type, send them home in the chat room. Somebody type, send them home in the chat room. What's up, what's up, what's up? Everybody, shout out to everybody here. Make sure you hit the number 1 button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And make sure you hit the like button. So I'd like to welcome everybody back. And today I want to speak, as you can tell by the intro, I want to talk directly to you all about some crucial and bold and very decisive immigration policies coming out of President Donald J. Trump's administration. Now, love him or hate him, Trump understands that the will of the American people isn't, and he isn't afraid to act on it. These policies aren't just ideas or political talking points, okay? They're a mandate from the voters, from the American people. That's right, folks. The American people made their voices heard at the ballot box, and the message was loud and clear. Let me cut straight to the point. The chaos at our borders has been ignored far too long. Politicians on both sides, yes, both sides, have been more interested in pandering to political correctness than protecting our safety. They prioritize cheap labor over good paying American jobs and lawlessness over the rule of law. But enough is enough. Now, President Trump's new deportation policy is exactly what the American people voted for: strength, sovereignty, security. And these policies are based on simple, non-negotiable truths. The United States is a nation of laws, not a playground for illegal immigration. We have borders for a reason, and without borders, we don't have a nation. Now, for years, you and I saw what happens when law-abiding citizens aren't allowed to do anything. We have to watch as our community suffers. Resources are stretched thin, crime is up, safety is down. The cost of illegal immigration isn't just in dollars and cents, it's in lives lost, families broken, and opportunities stolen. Sanctuary cities. What's that about? They've become breeding grounds for crime funded by your hard-earned tax dollars. And let's be honest, nobody asked you if you wanted to pay for this mess. Shout out to my man, Timothy Bright. Thank you for being the first person to contribute to the super chat. Now, here's the thing that the media and the elites don't want to admit. Most Americans support enforcing our immigration laws. Let me say that again. Most Americans want the law enforced. This isn't about race or ethnicity. It's about fairness, safety, and justice. We've always welcomed legal immigrants with open arms. We will continue to do so. But if you break the law to enter the country, you have no right to remain here, much less demand benefits from the people who work and pay taxes. When Americans voted for Donald Trump, they weren't just voting for a person, they were voting for America first. They were voting for order at the border. They were voting for safer communities and jobs that belong to American workers. This policy isn't just the right thing to do, it's necessary. It's what you and I, the American voters, demanded, and now it's time to deliver. The critics, they're crying foul. They call these policies cruel and inhumane. But let me ask you, what's cruel about restoring order? What's inhumane about protecting vulnerable people from drug cartels and traffickers? What's irresponsible? What's irresponsible? What is truly irresponsible is letting illegal immigrants jump ahead of those who follow the rules and respect the law. President Trump has drawn a line in the sand. We will enforce the law. We will secure our borders. And yes, we will deport those who violate our sovereignty. This isn't a suggestion. It's the law of the land. And under this administration, the law will be enforced. To those who oppose this policy, let me remind you of something. Elections have consequences. The American people spoke loudly and clearly, and they chose law and order over chaos. They chose borders over open door policies. They chose Donald Trump over Kamala Harris because they want to get the job done. This isn't just an immigration policy, folks. It's a mandate from the people. We're not going to apologize for demanding or for defending our nation. We're not backing down from criticism, and we're certainly not abandoning the millions of Americans who put their trust in this administration to secure our future. So to all you hardworking, law-abiding citizens who voted for change, this policy is for you. Your voice has been heard, and with this administration, we're going to fight for everyone in America every single day. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I look forward to reading all the comments. But I want to go ahead and continue. As I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, elections have consequences. And so we don't need to sugarcoat it. President Trump's new immigration policy is harsh. It's unapologetically tough, and it's going to be run by Mr. Homan, Tom Homan. And it's going to be difficult for many to accept, but it's also exactly what the American people voted for. This is the mandate, or should I say, this mandate was delivered through the ballot box, and it's time to be brutally honest about what this means for illegal immigrants and their families. Under this policy, families who have built their lives in this country and have done so without legal status, they've built businesses, they're going to face enforcement like they have never seen before. Tom Homan, the gentleman who you saw earlier, is Trump's incoming border czar. He's a former ICE director. And he's made it crystal clear that parents who enter this country illegally, even if they have children born here, will be deported. And here's the hard truth. If those families want to stay together, those US-born children who are American citizens, they're going to be sent to their parents' home country as well. That's the administration's version of keeping families together. Now, let's not ignore the cruelty of this policy. Sending children who were born here, children who are Americans, back to the country, a country they've never known, El Salvador, Nigeria, Jamaica, Trinidad, Guatemala, Honduras, Colombia, Vietnam. Sending those children to these countries that they've never known is going to be painful. It's painful to imagine. These kids, these American children, will be torn away from their schools, their friends, their communities, and the lives they built. That's cruel. But there's no way around it. But as Tom Homan himself said, the blame does not lie with the American people. The blame does not lie with the American government. The blame lies with the parents who chose to break the law. Those same parents who broke the law to bring their children into this situation where this outcome was inevitable. That who is to blame. Breaking immigration laws has consequences, and for too long, those consequences have been ignored or softened. Entering this country illegally is a violation of federal law. It is a crime. And this isn't some loophole or gray area. It's black and white. And under the administration that we have coming, enforcement of this law will no longer be optional. Shout out to Corey Joe. Thank you so much for the super chat. Now, for years, the previous administrations, both Republican and Democrat, took a softer approach, framing illegal immigrants as heroic individuals seeking a better life. And yes, we are a compassionate nation. We've always been the beacon of hope for those who follow the rules and come here illegally. But compassion doesn't mean lawlessness. It doesn't mean looking the other way while laws are broken. That mindset is over. Now, let me be brutally honest about what families living here illegally can expect once this policy is enforced. If you are in this country without legal status, you need to prepare for deportation. That's not a threat, it's the reality. Enforcement will be swift and it will be uncompromising. Families will be separated unless parents choose to take their American-born children with them. If you think this administration is bluffing, you're mistaken. Those days of leniency are gone. For those who are outraged by this, let me remind you again, elections have consequences. Barack Obama said that best. The American people voted for stricter enforcement. They voted for borders that mean something. They voted for an end to the chaos, and now we're seeing the consequences of that choice. This is a hard shift. It's not going to be easy to watch, but this is what happens when laws are ignored for too long. Eventually, enforcement comes, and it comes hard. If you are here illegally, I encourage you to seek legal counsel and start preparing for the changes ahead. This is not about hate or cruelty. It's about restoring order and enforcing the rule of law. The American people have spoken. This is the direction they want for their country. And as harsh as it may seem, it is the fulfillment of their vote. We are a nation of laws. And that must mean something. It's time to accept this reality and move forward. Now, it's a crackdown coming. Somebody type crackdown in the chat room. Now, you may think I'm going one way, but I'm telling you it's a crackdown on over tolerance that's coming. We are going to begin to prioritize American strength. The incoming president, Donald Trump, he's made some bold promises to tackle what we see and what they see as over tolerance that has weakened America from within. This isn't just a campaign slogan. It's a sweeping indictment of policies and practices that have allowed complacency and misplaced priorities to take root. From the military readiness to immigration, foreign trade, and justice reform. Trump's cabinet selections are signaling a hard pivot towards policies and priorities that signify American strength, security, and sovereignty. One of the administration's key concerns is the impact of gender equality policies on our military readiness. While equality is an essential principle, Trump's team argues that the overemphasis on social experimentation in the military has distracted from its primary mission, and that is defending the nation. Policies that prioritize diversity quotas and gender accommodations, they claim we're good. But in reality, it is an interfere with our military readiness. And they've compromised the military's efficiency, readiness, and morale. And this new administration is expected to implement reforms that focus on combat effectiveness and strategic superiority, ensuring that the U.S. military remains the most formidable force in the world. Shout out to my man Black saying, thank you so much for the super chat. What about Trump's economic strategy? It's going to target foreign competitors who have long taken advantage of America's generosity and lack of restrictions. Import, export, tariffs, currency manipulation, and trade imbalances have allowed nations like China to dominate global markets at America's expense. And the administration plans to renegotiate trade deals, impose stricter tariffs, and hold foreign nations accountable for their unfair trade practices. And these policies are designed to prioritize American businesses and workers, ensuring that the U.S. economy is no longer at the mercy of foreign powers. Another key promise of Trump's administration is to redirect resources away from foreign aid and toward rebuilding America's crumbling infrastructure. For decades, billions of dollars have been sent to countries like Ukraine and all these other places around the world, many of which harbor anti-American sentiments. While bridges collapse and roads deteriorate and clean water becomes a luxury in some U.S. citizens, this administration has vowed to put America first. And by reinvesting those funds into domestic projects, that benefits American citizens. The other thing, one of Trump's boldest promises is to dismantle what he calls the deep state. Those are the unelected bureaucrats and the career officials in Washington who have been dictating policy to elected leaders for too long. The administration sees this as a fundamental challenge to democracy, and so do many Americans. You have power that has been concentrated into the hands of a few who are unaccountable to the American people. And by cutting through the red tape and reducing the influence of these entrenched bureaucracies, Trump aims to return power to the elected officials, by extension, the voters who put him in office. Another one, and we saw this happening. The weaponization of the criminal justice system. Trump's administration has also vowed to address what it calls the disproportionate use of the justice system to attack the political rivals. And not even disproportionate, intentional. And in recent years, there's been numerous allegations of this. And we've seen it play out against Donald Trump, and irrespective of what he had to go through, being targeted by his political adversaries, using investigations and prosecutions as tools of political warfare, Trump's team is now committed to reform these agencies to ensure that justice is truly blind and impartial, rather than a weapon wielded by those in power. And this includes holding those same bureaucrats accountable for overreach and corruption. Again, we are bringing in a new era. We're bringing an end to tolerance of lawlessness. See, the overreaching thing of Trump's agenda is the belief that America has tolerated too much, too long. And whether it's lawlessness at the border, corruption in Washington, or economic exploitation by foreign nations, all of this has been tolerated too long. Trump's administration, or this administration's policies, are unapologetically focused on reversing this trend, even if it means upsetting the status quo or challenging deeply entrenched norms. Now, we are looking at a new era of accountability. Trump's cabinet selections are proposed, or their proposed policies make one thing clear to me. This administration is not interested in business as usual. The goal is to overhaul systems that have been exploited and neglected, and ensuring that America's priorities are security, sovereignty, and economic strength, and no longer compromised by over-tolerance of misplaced compassion. And this is not a promise of gentle reforms and incremental changes. It is a declaration of intent to shake the foundation of what many see as a broken system. Whether one agrees with these methods or not, one thing is certain. DJ Trump's administration is poised to make sweeping changes that will reshape America's future, driven by a singular vision of putting America first. Somebody type America first in the chat room. Shout out to my man, Timothy Bright. Thank you so much for the super chat. Now, I'm going to ask you all a question. Let's dig deep. Somebody type dig deep. What happened? Somebody type what happened. Come on now. This is interactive, YouTube. Somebody type what happened. What has made Americans so mean and indifferent? Somebody type what happened. Come on now. Work with me. You work with me, I work with you. Somebody type what happened. What has made Americans who seem to be these jolly, happy people who ate McDonald's all day, what made us so mean? In other words, let's look and see how we got here. How America has become a nation where indifference and cruelty and lack of compassion have seeped into the culture. See, this isn't just about politics or social media. It's a deeper reflection of a society battered by trauma, economic instability, and cultural shifts over the last 25 years. The warning signs have been flashing for decades, but we've tolerated too much for too long, and now the cracks in our collective psyche are impossible to ignore. Let's discuss the morning of September 11, 2021, that 2001, that changed everything. There was a time you could go to the airport, you didn't really need an ID. You know, you didn't have to take your shoes off. You didn't have to take your belt off, right? But 9/11 changed everything. For the first time in modern history, Americans experienced the vulnerability of mass terror on their own soil. I watched it. I watched the second plane hit that building at the courthouse I was working at the time. And I can tell you that the collective shock and grief were overwhelming. And in the aftermath, fear became a constant presence in American life. And that fear didn't dissipate. It was weaponized. The war on terror dragged on for decades, eroding trust in the government and leaving many Americans in a state of permanent hypervigilance. Psychologically, this prolonged exposure to fear, it hardens people. And the fight or flight response that kept us united immediately after the attacks morphed into anger, paranoia, and eventually indifference. Fear makes people defensive and intolerant of others. It's easier to vilify the other than to confront our own insecurities and vulnerabilities. And this era planted the seeds of division, polarization, and the me first mindset. What else happened? Somebody type, what happened? And what are we talking about? How do you Americans become so mean? That's what the rest of the world wants to know. Well, another thing, along with 9/11, is the rise of these drug deaths and the loss of empathy. The opioid epidemic. It's more than just a health crisis. It's a national tragedy. We've lost almost 200,000 people to drug overdoses, young people. And it's a reflection of America's deep societal wounds. What began quietly in the 1990s with the overprescription of painkillers like Oxycontin erupted into a full-blown emergency by the mid-2010s as a cheap, potent drugs like heroin and fentanyl flooded our streets. Today, overdoses kill more Americans annually than car accidents or gun violence. Entire towns and cities have been hollowed out, leaving broken families and neglected children and communities in despair. But let's be clear, this didn't happen in a vacuum. It's easy to place all the blame on the pharmaceutical companies or the addicts themselves, but there's a more sinister force at play, and that's the Mexican drug cartels. These cartels, operating with the ruthlessness of terrorist organizations, have become the driving force behind the proliferation of drugs like heroin and fentanyl. And they capitalize on the vulnerabilities of a nation already grappling with addiction, flooding our cities with deadly substances while profiting off the destruction. The drug cartels don't just bring drugs, they bring chaos. They supply chains, they control and often enforce with violence and corruption and intimidation. These organizations have deep connections to surge, or the ability to surge in violence in American cities. They have gangs and they have criminal networks that distribute drugs and fight over territory and profits in our cities. And the result is you have a rise in shootings and homicides and the kind of street level terror that turns neighborhoods into war zones. I equate these drug cartels and this administration equates these drug cartels to terrorist groups. And that is not an exaggeration. Shout out to Corey Joe Better. It's an accurate comparison. Because, see, like these terrorist organizations, cartels thrive on fear and violence. They destabilize governments and they corrupt institutions. They destroy lives on a massive scale. Their influence extends far beyond the drug trade. They've infiltrated human trafficking, arms smuggling, and other criminal enterprises that exploit the most vulnerable. And the violence they unleash doesn't stay contained in Mexico or Central America. It spills over our borders into our cities, impacting Americans' lives directly. And for decades, we turned a blind eye to this crisis. Instead of holding the cartels accountable, we've stigmatized the victims of addiction, blaming them for their choices and dismissing their suffering. We fail to recognize addiction as a symptom of a larger societal issue: poverty, mental illness, and the lack of opportunity. And instead, we let our empathy turn into indifference. And this is what's happened. The toll of witnessing this destruction without real solutions has left Americans numb. And when you see people overdosing on the streets, where are my people from Philadelphia at? Where my people from Philly at? There's some streets you can walk down in Philadelphia and you see people there who've overdosed, laid out in the street, standing still in a catatonic state. And we're always hearing about another young life lost to fentanyl. And the natural human reaction is empathy, but that's been replaced with callousness, as if that's just their problem. But see, the truth is, family, it's not just their problem, it's our problem. Every overdose, every drug-related shooting, every child growing up without a parent because of addiction is a reflection of our American society that has allowed chaos to persist. The cartels are not just drug dealers. They are enemies of the public safety and the national security. And just like terrorist groups, their reign of destruction must be confronted, not ignored. See, there's a cost of tolerance. And we've tolerated too much, and we've tolerated the cartels exploiting our borders, using violence and corruption to maintain their grip on power. We've tolerated a legal and political system that fails to take meaningful action, whether because of weak enforcement or inadequate drug treatment programs. We've tolerated a culture that normalizes addiction, violence, and despair. Enough is enough. Let me say that again. Enough is enough. And the rise of drug deaths fueled by the cartels is a crisis that demands action on a scale of a war against terrorism. This isn't just about saving lives. It's about saving our nation. Through saving our communities and restoring public safety and reclaiming the dignity of those who have been lost to this epidemic. It's time to stop looking the other way and start treating the cartels as the existential threat that they truly are. Only then can we begin to rebuild what has been lost and restore hope to places that have been left behind. Go to some of these places in the Appalachian Mountains and see what fentanyl has done to these people. Some of these places in the Rust Belt. These once thriving cities have become shadows of their former selves. Manufacturing jobs left. The cost of living has skyrocketed. Homelessness has become a fixture in urban landscapes. Places like Detroit, and Baltimore, and San Francisco, they stand as symbols of how America has abandoned its working class. And when you walk through a city littered with needles and tents and boarded up storefronts, it's hard to believe in the promise of the American dream. The environment shapes behavior. And living in decayed surroundings that fosters a sense of hopelessness. People stop believing that improvement is possible. Worse, they grow resentful of those who seem to escape the circumstances, and this resentment fuels division. And instead of working together to rebuild, we turn on each other. See, the American dream, once a symbol of boundless opportunity and prosperity, has turned into a cruel joke for many. The middle class is disappearing. Wages have been stagnated. And inflation, that has made even the basic necessities a financial burden. And for many young people, the milestones of their parents and grandparents purchasing a home, starting a family, trying to build wealth, they see that as totally out of reach. So it's not just an economic issue, it's a psychological issue. The new American, it's so much so now that the new American dream in this land of opportunity it's become a place that people want to escape. In other words, what I'm saying, the new American dream, for many people who are growing disillusioned, it's no longer about achieving success within the U.S. It's about finding fulfillment and peace and security outside of the United States. For many people, that means becoming digital nomads. For many who've spent their life working here in the United States, it means retiring and relocating to countries in Central or South America or Southeast Asia or Africa. The idea of living a simpler, less stressful life abroad is no longer a fringe concept. It's a movement. Shout out to Mr. Saginaw. And this phenomenon is epitomized by groups like the Passport Bros. Men, primarily black men, who've decided to look for opportunities and relationships and a better quality of life overseas. They're leaving behind a society in decay they feel has failed them, one where traditional values and affordable living and meaningful connections are unattainable, largely because there's too much tolerance in this country, over-tolerance. Shout out to Queen Lioness Judah. And in these so-called third world countries, they find not only a lower cost of living, but also communities that feel safer, more welcoming, and less burdened by the rat race of American life. Now, you may ask yourself, why is this shift so ironic? The irony is undeniable. America once the ultimate destination for those seeking a better life is now being abandoned by its own citizens in pursuit of the very thing it once promised: peace, opportunity, and happiness. Countries that were once dismissed as a third world shithole are now seen as havens, offering a quality of life that feels increasingly unattainable in the U.S. It's not just about money. It's about lower living costs and healthcare. That, of course, plays a role in it, but it's not about money. It's about escaping the overwhelming pressure of a society in decay that prioritizes profit over productivity and well-being. For many Americans, this new American dream in these other countries represents something America's lost: a sense of community, a slower pace of life, with cultural values and that emphasize human connection over materialism, a place where you can raise your children. And the decision to leave is not just an indictment of these foreign nations, but a harsh critique of what America has become: a place where stress, isolation, and financial insecurity are the norm. What does this say about America? What does it say when you have groups of American, especially young American men, the passport bros, which only represents a broader trend of Americans, both men and women, seeking a better life abroad. What it does is it highlights the systematic failures of the U.S. economy and its culture. It's a reflection of how far we've strayed from the ideals that once defined this country. The fact that so many are willing to pack up and leave, it speaks volumes. This is a wake-up call. See, if America doesn't address these underlying issues, these economic inequality, the skyrocketing cost of living, the erosion of social trust, it risks losing not just its immigrants, but also its own citizens, a so-called brain drain. This is when you have highly educated people who leave. But then you also have everyday Americans who decide the grass is greener elsewhere because America has failed to nurture its own and putting others first. Not putting Americans first, but putting others first. See, the new American dream should not be about escaping America. It should be about restoring fairness and opportunity and hope to everyone. That's what it should be about. It should be about building a life with dignity and fulfillment. That's what it should be about. But until then, the exodus will continue. You got the world's wealthiest nation failing to provide its own people with the very things it once stood for. Again, we are talking about why you Americans have become so mean and intolerant. We talked about a failed state. We talked about rundown cities. We talked about drug epidemics. We talked about 9/11, perpetual fear. We've talked about wars, seemingly endless wars. Another thing that you may find interesting, and I want you to think about this, the rise of MMA, mixed martial arts, and the normalization of violence. What does that mean? We're going deep now. Sports have always been a reflection of the culture in every society. And the rise of MMA over the last 2 decades says a lot about where we are as a society. Unlike boxing, which has rules to protect fighters and emphasize skill, MMA revels in brutality. It's a sport where broken bones, bloodied faces, and knockouts are celebrated as entertainment. And this shift reveals something dark about us. Let's deal with us. It reveals something dark about us. Don't run from it, run to it. It reveals something dark about us because we like that entertainment. It says that we become desensitized to suffering. Watching someone getting beaten to a pulp no longer shocks us, it excites us. And this speaks to a deeper cultural shift where empathy is in the decline and the value of human dignity is eroding. We've grown comfortable with the idea of pain as long as it isn't ours. But let's be honest. It's not a new phenomenon in America. In fact, it is deeply ingrained in our history. Shout out to Cooley. Public lynchings. One of the most barbaric practices in American history were once spectacles that drew massive crowds. People would gather for hours, even days, to watch the gruesome torture and execution of another human being. They brought their children, they packed picnics, and they treated these acts of violence as a social event. Photos of these atrocities were turned into postcards and souvenirs that people sent to friends and families as if to commemorate the occasion. This historical Comparison is uncomfortable, I'm sure, but it's necessary. The public appetite for witnessing suffering and violence hasn't disappeared. It simply evolved. What used to be lynchings in town squares is now cage fights in arenas. The medium has changed, but the psychology, but the roots remain the same. As a society, we've long grappled with this dark side of human nature, where suffering becomes entertainment and cruelty becomes normalized. This isn't just about MMA or sports. It's a reflection of a broader cultural shift. When we tolerate violence, when we celebrate aggression, and turn pain into a spectacle, it speaks volumes about our collective psyche. We've lost sight of the value of human dignity and replaced it with hunger for brutality disguised as entertainment. The question we must ask ourselves is this: how did we get here? And how much further are we willing to go before we acknowledge and address this cultural decline? If we're not careful, we risk repeating this very dark chapter of our history, not in the exact same form, but in ways that reflect the same underlying indifference to human suffering. So yeah, this is how we got here. Another thing that's happened. Over the last 25 years, the rise of social media has only magnified our worst instincts. Platforms like Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter, and YouTube, and TikTok, has turned discourse into combat. Outrage is rewarded with likes and retweets of subscribers, while compassion and nuance are drowned out. We've become addicted to instant gratification, whether it's from viral posts or the thrill of tearing someone down online. Come on, tell me you like it. I know you like it. I know you do. But see, this cultural and digital aggression spills into real life. People are more impatient, more dismissive, and quicker to judge. The impact is clear. We've lost the ability to connect with each other on a human level. For too long, however, we've tolerated things we shouldn't have. We've tolerated corruption and government and greed and corporations and moral decay in our communities. We've tolerated division and violence and inequality. And the toll of tolerating too much, or too much of these injustices, it's exhausting. And now we are out of apathy. We have reached our breaking point, and enough is enough. Americans are mean and indifferent now, again, because we've been stretched to our emotional limits. We've lived through fear, trauma, disillusionment. We've let those experiences harden us. And we've traveled down this path to the point where we had cruelty and division. You don't think we're divided? You have psychologists on major American networks telling people that if they voted for somebody that you didn't like in the last presidential election, you don't have to go over their house even if they're your family. That's the psychologist. So don't tell me we're not divided. And as long as we keep up with this fake tolerance, what's broken is going to remain broken. It's not just our cities, it's not just our borders. It is our compassion and our empathy and our humanity. Enough is enough. Now, let's talk about immigration. What policies are going to be implemented? What are the potential roadblocks and strategies for overcoming them. Shout out to Digital Nomad.
6 fucking years. It took us 6 fucking years to get our citizenship. I know people, I know some people need more time. I know some people don't ever get their citizenship, but we worked so hard for it. She worked so hard for it.
She can cry all she wants to.
We came here because she wanted a better life for us. She wanted a better education for us.
We
She
don't
wanted
care.
for us to have a better future. And
Y'all hear that?
now this is all going to be taken away because of him.
This is not America of 40 years ago. We don't care. Y'all understand what I'm saying? We are not who we were. And these policies that are going to be imposed are going to do a lot of things. When we talk about immigration reform and border security, they're going to target criminal illegal immigrants. What you're going to see is ICE will prioritize going after illegal immigrants with criminal records, conducting raids and sweeps. They're going to use a lot of advanced intelligence systems. They're going to deploy drones and sensors and AI-enhanced monitoring systems along the border and in the interior. There's going to be a lot stricter visa enforcement because a lot of people get to this country and stay here by overstaying their visas. They may begin to implement digital tracking for visa overstays and increase penalties for non-compliance. We need your phone number. We need your cell phone number so we can track your phone. Now, what are going to be the challenges that they're going to face? Well, you're going to have civil rights organizations who are going to argue that this is racial profiling and unlawful detention. They're going to complain that mass deportation requires vast resources and coordination. But you heard what Tom Homan said. That's the price of restoring order to the border. And as far as those civil rights challenges, who are you going to appeal that to? To the Supreme Court that we have now? They don't care either. Another one that I found very interesting. Somebody type anchor baby in the chat room. Somebody type anchor baby in the chat room. One of the first things Donald Trump said he's going to do is revoke birthright citizenship. You need to understand that. What that means is he's going to get an executive order on the books to reinterpret the 14th Amendment to restrict birthright citizenship. And then he's going to push Congress to codify this new interpretation in the federal law. Now, what are going to be his roadblocks? Of course, there's going to be some constitutional challenges. The critics are going to argue, well, that contradicts the 14th Amendment. You're going to have all of these immigrant advocacy groups and international organizations protesting. But let me tell you, Americans don't care. Somebody type we don't care in the chat room. We don't care. We don't care because we've recognized that for decades now, people come to this country, have a child, they get what's called an anchor baby, and now you can't put them out. And then once they get that child in, they begin to bring other people from their family, all from one anchor baby. So if you revoke birthright citizenship, that ends all that. But let me say what's going to happen. With the way this Supreme Court is here, you can be pretty certain there's going to be judicial support from the Supreme Court's conservative majority. More importantly, because Congress, both the Senate and the House, are controlled by Republicans, these laws are, for the most part, going to pass. Now, that's a big one. What about combating drug cartels? Well, they're going to utilize the Patriot Act to freeze the cartel's assets and to begin to conduct cross-border strikes. Do you hear what I said? I don't care what the little Mexican president says down there. Once the United States utilizes that Patriot Act and designates these drug cartels as terrorist groups, we have taken it upon ourselves to have the right to begin to attack them and invade their country and destroy those sites, even over in Mexico. Now, they can collaborate with us or not, and if they don't, they're going to be punished. You heard what Donald Trump said. 25% tariff, 50% tariff, 75% tariff. We're going to shut your money off. We know that Mexico may oppose these U.S. military involvement on their soil, but what are they going to do about it? We're going to have civil liberties group objecting to it, but what are they going to do about it? United States is one of Mexico's biggest trading partners, if not the biggest. The other thing they're going to do is begin to close these immigration loopholes. They're going to limit asylum claims based on credible fear. I can't return to my country because I'm afraid they're going to kill me. But why aren't you stopping Mexico or Honduras? Why'd you walk from El Salvador, all you passed up all those countries to come here? And what are you really afraid of? The other thing, they're going to start using technology to try to speed up the process. They're going to automate these systems to reduce human error. Now, the Democrats are going to try to filibuster, block some of these legislative changes. But it's going to happen. All I need at this point is a majority vote. Now let's look at this other one. Deportation operations. Let me talk to some of you truckers and all you folks out here. Obviously, it is obvious to me that the United States government is going to begin to contract private companies to build and maintain these facilities. So there's going to be billions of dollars spread around for American businessmen and workers. So we're going to, you want to make America great? They're trying to make America rich and make Americans rich again. And this is just going to be another business like any other business. That is going to incentivize this deportation operation. This is a big deal. Now they're going to have to increase immigration judges. They're going to have to begin to streamline case processing to reduce backlogs. A lot of you folks who are in the military or armed services, police, civilian police, they're going to offer you a lot of money to come back and work for the Border Patrol. Think about it. Something to do. And you're going to have some roadblocks. There's going to be a lot of overwhelmed facilities. You're going to have these so-called sanctuary cities actively opposing deportations. I find that ironic because recently I learned that these sanctuary cities in California and New York are now beginning to bus illegal immigrants back to Texas. Isn't that something? So now they're sending them back to Texas. I thought they were sanctuary cities. You invited them up here, saying we will turn down no one. and we helped you get them, and now you want to send them back to us after babysitting for a year. Think about that. Now, the way that this administration is going to get through those roadblocks, blocks posed by those sanctuary cities, they're going to penalize them. They're going to penalize these non-compliant states and jurisdictions by withholding federal funds. They're going to utilize the private sector, private business owners, to expand the detention capacity. Got a warehouse? Hey, we'll rent that from you for $1 million a month. The other thing they're going to do to head off any public backlash is they're going to say, well, Donald Trump deported more people than anybody else. I'm sorry, Barack Obama deported more people than anybody else. They're going to, so how can we're not doing anything he wasn't doing. And the critics are going to say, well, there was a difference between what Obama did and Trump did. Trump escalated. And then you just compare the statistics. Another thing they're going to do is build that wall. And the way in which they're going to do that this time, somebody type build that wall in the chat room. They're going to redirect funds from military allocations to wall construction. They're going to acquire private lands legally and efficiently. You see? Especially now that you have more people supporting it. Now you're going to have landowners. They're going to want to challenge these federal seizures. You're going to have critics attempt to block it in Congress. But basically, there's going to be a lot of emergency declarations, justify funding under national security concerns, and they're going to expedite these eminent domain cases in court. It's going to happen. Also, they're going to empower law enforcement. I mean, are y'all listening to me? I'm giving you the roadmap. I'm telling you what's about to happen. Okay? I'm telling you what's about to happen. Are you listening to me? This is what's going to happen. There's not too many paths forward on this. This is what's going to happen. Now, as far as law enforcement, they're going to start allowing state, state law enforcement to arrest illegal immigrants for state crimes. There's a law in the books, I'm gonna just say 287G, or they have these 287G agreements that allow you can deputize local law enforcement for the purposes of federal task force and such. You see? And by doing that, you just increase your manpower. Also, they plan to redeploy. This is what this administration is going to do. They're going to use military deployments on the border. They're going to assign troops to high traffic border area, National Guard specifically. There's a posse comitatus amendment to the Constitution which prohibits federal troops, but you can put the National Guard on deployment and you can federalize them. So you get the same effect. They're going to use military engineers to reinforce weak points. Okay. But for the most part, these are the things that you see happening. Now, again, there's going to be some public sentiment on illegal immigration, but you guys aren't the same people you were 4 decades ago. Life has happened. Things have happened. And I explained that earlier. But the response is going to be, hey, this is what the voters asked for. They're going to highlight the economic and security benefits of these stricter policies. Okay? Hopefully, if they're intelligent, they'll do engagement, whether it's local leaders or people here on YouTube and some other social media. And so it's going to be impossible for those who are sentimental, who've been overly tolerant, to dominate the public discourse with emotional appeals. They won't be able to, because you have a common consensus. The other thing I see happening is going to be a lot of tariffs on places like Mexico to pressure them to comply with our immigration controls. Stop those people from coming here before they get to our southern border. You let them walk from the southern tip of your country all the way to our southern border and you don't do anything about it? No. I also see Donald Trump renegotiating and prioritizing U.S. labor interests. And if they try any sort of retaliatory measures that could harm Americans or Americans, expatriates, expats in Mexico, you're going to see more tariffs. This is what's going to happen. Are y'all learning something? If you're learning something, hit the number 1 button. I hope you are. The other thing is we need to begin to end these sanctuary cities, because these sanctuary cities like Chicago and Los Angeles just pose as invitations to come on up here and break our laws. And there should be some legal mandates that require, under federal law, under the penalty of not getting these federal stipends and this federal money, either you share the data required or you don't get funded. And they can codify those restrictions in federal law. Okay? Now, what I'm saying is you're going to see a unified control of government and judicial support. Trump's administration is going to swiftly implement these policies. If they're intelligent, they'll do some effective public relations, and they have a judicial strategy laid out. It's going to be a lot of legislative maneuvering. And that's going to be essential to overcoming this resistance and ensuring success. Now, let me talk for a minute to let me do this. I like to issue a warning to the Black immigrants. All the Black immigrants, how you doing? Let me share you a video that I played at the top of this broadcast. I want you guys to look at this. Y'all listening? Listen to this.
So one demographic that voted heavily for Trump.
And I got this from another YouTube broadcaster. Her name is Messy Michonne. She's entertaining. Good, funny stuff over there. Listen
You
to
have
this.
several groups, but one demographic I want to talk about is Black men.
One group I want to talk about, Black men. Now, the initial, maybe I'm wrong, but she sounds like she's from somewhere else, and sounds like she's from the island somewhere. It sounds like Jamaica to me.
I beg your pardon?
She wants to say something to Black men. So all you Black men, I want y'all to listen to what she has to say.
Black men, you remember how you were all riled up with George Floyd and the other shootings, the police killings? You remember Donald Trump's response and what he said to do with you? Okay, you remember Kyle Rittenhouse, the white dude who shot those people with the AK in the street when they were...
Kyle Rittenhouse didn't shoot any Black men. He shot some people who were attacking him at a protest, and I believe they chased him down. That does not have anything to do with us.
Protesting, a police killing, the little KKK boy, I think he was 17.
I think Kyle Rittenhouse sued someone for referring to him as a KKK boy. So you better watch it. You don't want to get that defamation lawsuit, ma'am.
And you remember when Donald Trump invited him to Mar-a-Lago or to the White House, wherever, because he shot a black man?
Kyle Rittenhouse did not shoot a black man, ma'am.
Good night. Pick a bed and go to sleep.
Who was
But you're laughing about it. You're laughing about it.
protesting the death of another man by police? That's what you all want. So you see, you are.
I know we got some Jamaicans in here. I know we got some people from the Caribbean. Let's say you had a black American woman who lived in Jamaica and thought that it was within her purview and her right to post a TikTok video criticizing Jamaican men for their political preferences and ridiculing them to the point that she's now wishing harm come to them. How would that black American, how would that Yanka woman be received for doing that? I'm just asking. Because see, this type of black immigrant and this rhetoric and this posturing is not helping you all. See, at this point, there's a division and a growing division, and literally getting to the point where there is open hostilities between black Americans. And when I say black Americans, I'm talking about foundational black Americans and foreign immigrants. Do you think this is helpful or harmful to those already tension-filled interactions? I'm just gonna ask.
Motherfuckers,
We MFers too.
time a police stop you and put their knees in your motherfucking neck or shoot you in the back when you're running. Motherfuckers, I want your family to come out and start rioting. Hey!
All right, so basically what she said, anytime a police put his knee in you black men's neck or shoot you in the back when you're running and your family come out riding, ha, in other words, she's not going to be supporting that. That's what this woman is saying. Is he laughing?
I think you can come out and riot. And you love to burn shit down? Okay, come out. I'm waiting. I want them to unleash the military and the motherfucking asses.
She said when we come and protest in those instances, then she wants the military to come on our ass. That's what she's saying. That's what this woman who is a foreigner from another country, black woman who's a foreigner, that's what she says she wants to happen to black men who protest against injustice and police brutality just because 25% of us voted for Donald Trump. That's what this woman is saying. Is this helpful to relations between foundational black Americans and foreign black? Is this helpful? Do y'all think this is helpful? Right? Well, we understand why she would be against Donald Trump being elected. We get that, right?
The military and the police and you. That's what's going to happen. And I can't blame him because that's what y'all said you wanted. And you say, I'm going to vote for you because this is what I want. I want you to set the police on us. I want you to set the military on us. I want you to take away our rights to protest. And I want you to grant the police immunity so when they kill us and abuse us, assault us, they cannot be charged or be held responsible. That's what I'm voting for Donald Trump. I'm a black man. And that's what I want you to do, Donald. That's what I want you to do. I'm a black man. I am a man. Yeah. That's what I want you to do. Take away my rights. Give the police immunity so when they put their...
So I mean, look, fam, I understand why immigrants, black immigrants, I see why they wouldn't want to vote for Trump. Because Trump has said, I'm going to send them home. Somebody type send them home in the chat room. Trump is going to send you home. Trump is going to break up your family. He's going to come right down there to all those enclaves where you hang out, and he's going to send you home. I'm just saying. I understand that. But now you're redirecting your anger to black men. And here's the facts. Overwhelmingly, black men supported Kamala Harris. But you, instead of attacking white men who voted for Donald Trump overwhelmingly, instead of attacking Hispanic men or Asian men, you attack black men. Got it. Okay? So this is, to me, is just anti-black rhetoric, misandry also. But this is who we dealing with. And you wonder why there's a rift. You came to our country with this. So this is what I don't understand. You've come to the United States of America and you are helping sow division amongst black Americans. You pose, people look at you, they see a black person. They don't know where you're from until you start talking. But this is what you're saying about black men?
Knee in my neck, they have the right to do it and they have no responsibility or nothing. My family will get no justice. My children will not know their dad.
I beg your pardon? My children would not. That's what you wishing on us, man? What if a black American person came to Jamaica and said all these things and put it up on a TikTok? Well, how would that be? How would y'all respond to that? What are Jamaicans at? How would you all respond to that? What if this was a black American person in Ghana commenting on, they came back for the door of no return with a strong American accent, and they start commenting y'all internal politics? I'm just asking. Huh? The gall of a person to feel that they could just come here and comment on what we got going on. I'm just saying. I just want you to think about it. Okay? Just think about it. Now, somebody said that black immigrants are one of the smallest groups to migrate to the USA, and it's mostly Asians and Latinos. And you're the one causing division. I'm causing division. I'm just playing the video and asking questions. How is this causing division? And I'm telling you, we have someone from another country who is black American, literally basically saying because of our political choices, we've invited death upon ourselves as black people, black men specifically. And we deserve what we get. What if I went to Jamaica and said that? I'm just asking, how am I causing division and I'm just playing a video?
And they will not get no justice. Yes, yes, yes. On the thing could immune. On the thing could immune from this police brutality. Huh? Wait for it. That is something to remember. Donald Trump promised on a black man.
And why so much vitriol anti-black man rhetoric?
I said about a Jamaican black man. We say we don't have vote for Kamala. Huh? I don't have a mother. So I don't think so the mother did good enough for raise,
And now she's saying that, y'all didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman or she's a single mother. I missed the translation. Is it because she's a single mother and we were raised by single mothers? Not all of us were raised by single mothers. Some of us were raised by our fathers. I'm just saying. You see, some of us were raised in homes with mothers and fathers. Some of us may not have had our fathers in home, but he was around the corner or lived nearby. We saw him all the time. And so now you taking more assumptions and you just throwing more. Oh, I got you though. I got you.
I'm good enough to make decision and a holy pound of raised by a single mother household. Holy pound of black man.
She relishing in this. Look at the smile and smirk on her face.
Raising a single mother household. Single mother for the father. They gone all left no matter we do not. They raise or no raise.
I think Jamaica has a bigger single mother problem than the United States does, ma'am.
It's about a good too. You understand me? I don't think that Kamala can make decisions for y'all's future. But your mother used to do it by herself without no father. Because
she mad because Kamala's like a half Jamaican or something like that. Is that why she's mad? Is she mad about that?
Percentage of a black household will grow up without daddy.
A black household.
Right? You know that. So, baby, we waiting. Again, I'm mourning. I'm grieving. Still grieving. So it's gonna be black all week.
So are you black American women? Are y'all with that? Is y'all? Is that? Does she speak on behalf of black American women? Does that woman speak on behalf of black American women? Does she speak? Ladies, all you ladies here, all you immigrants, Black American immigrants, does that Black woman speak on behalf of all the immigrants who are of African descent who are here in the United States? I'm just asking. It's a yes or no question. I need to know. I need to know. Does she speak on behalf of immigrants from other countries who come to this country? Those people from the diaspora, does she speak on your behalf? It's a yes or no question. I need to know. I think all the Black Americans need to know. I think we need to know. Let me be clear and let me be direct. This message is for those Black immigrants who seem to be angry or vocal about the fact that foundational Black Americans, somebody type FBA in the chat room. Somebody type FBA in the chat room. Somebody type FBA in the chat room. I'm waiting. I need to know where you all are. Type FBA in the chat room. Yeah, I want you all to know, you folks from overseas. All right. Let me answer this question. Yes. The very descendants of those who built this nation gave Donald Trump more support than any Republican has received from us in the past 70 years. And you need to hear this because your rhetoric and your attitudes and your actions have not gone unnoticed. And the time has come for accountability. We, as foundational Black Americans, understand some very important things about many of you. We know that you see yourselves as immigrants first, before you see yourselves as Black. And you take deliberate steps to distance yourselves from us and our culture and our history and our struggles. In fact, many of you go out of your way to proudly proclaim that you're not like us. That you're from your respective countries in the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and Africa. You wear that distinction as if it absolves you of the debt you owe to foundational Black Americans who fought and died for the rights you now enjoy as a person of African descent. Let me remind you, you are in this country because of us. If it were not for the civil rights movement, which did away with most of Jim Crow, which was led by foundational Black Americans, the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, you would not exist here. And neither would your access to this country. We fought for those laws. We fought for the rights and privileges that allow you to walk freely and live openly and succeed in the United States of America. Yet instead of gratitude, we hear condescension and criticism and a growing animosity that is brewing into outright hostility. Some of your rhetoric and actions are driving a wedge between our communities, creating tensions that don't need to exist. And let me give you some advice. Remain silent and stay out of our internal politics of the United States. This is a day of reckoning. And the divide you are creating is not only dangerous for us, it's dangerous for you. Understand this. In America, you are a guest. Unlike foundational Black Americans, you have a country to return to. You come here to enjoy the benefits of our blood, sweat, and tears, and then have the audacity to chastise us for the political choices we make in a nation where we have fought and sacrificed for centuries. That's not only disrespectful, it's foolish. Let me paint a clear picture for you. Without the protection and solidarity of foundational Black Americans, you are nothing in this country but an immigrant. And just like those illegal immigrants, you often try to distinguish yourselves from you're gonna feel the full force of America's social stigma and its rules of law and its governmental agencies. That's what you're about to feel. See, when foundational Black Americans separate ourselves from you, who will stand for you? Certainly not the broader American public, who already lumps you in the same category as every other immigrant group that they see as dispensable. The simple fact is this: you haven't put enough skin in the game to have a say-so. And as a newly arrived immigrant or a second or third generation immigrant, you do not have the standing to dictate to foundational Black Americans how we should vote, govern ourselves, or manage our internal politics. It is not your place. Just like it's not my place to go to Jamaica or Ghana or Trinidad or Nigeria or Brazil or Guyana or any of those other countries where Black people dominate and tell people how to run their countries. If you dare to do so, if I dared to do so, I would be swiftly and harshly reminded and likely told to leave, and rightfully so. So here's my advice to you. Be quiet. Mind your business. Be grateful for the opportunities you have here, the opportunities you didn't earn, but were handed to you because of foundational Black Americans. If you cannot bring yourself to support us, the least you can do is not attack us. You're enjoying a free ride on the sacrifices that we made and continue to make. But if you continue down this path, that ride will end. This is a time of reconciliation, not division. It is time for recalculation, not antagonism. The American people have spoken, and foundational Black Americans have made their choice. Respect it, or risk the consequences of standing alone in a country that has no allegiance to you. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Now, let me give a direct message to three of the main culprits: Joy Reid, Sonny Hostin, and Roland Martin. Those people are in positions of influence. They are prominent figures who hold significant media influence. Yet they often claim to speak for foundational Black American people while promoting narratives that divide us rather than unite us. Listen, let's start with Joy Reid, the host of MSNBC's Reid Out. Joy was born Joy Ann M. Lomina in Brooklyn, New York. Her ethnic background is international. Her father, Mr. Lomina, was from Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo. Her mother, a college professor and nutritionist, is from British Guyana, known as Guyana, South America. She was raised in Denver, Colorado, until her mama passed away when she was 17, and she moved to Flatbush, Brooklyn, when she lived with her auntie. Joy's life and identity are rooted in a global Black experience, not a foundational Black American experience. And that is far removed from the struggles and history of the FBA culture. Yet, despite her distinct background, she often positions herself as a spokesperson for Black Americans as a whole. And this is problematic because the lived experiences of those whose families have been here for generations, whose ancestors survived slavery and fought for civil rights and built this nation, are not interchangeable with those of someone whose heritage is rooted in international migration. Now, another person. Let's talk about Sonny Hostin, who is the co-host of The View. Now, Sonny was born Asuncion Cummings Hostin, and her ethnic heritage reflects both an African and Hispanic influence. Her mother is Puerto Rican, and her heritage combines Spanish, African, and Taino indigenous roots. Her father's name was William Cummings. He was an African American, grounded in her partially in some Black American experience. Sonny appeared on a PBS show Finding Her Roots and found out that she is also Sephardic Jewish in ancestry, who's been linked to Spain and Portugal, which further diversifies her lineage. She also found out that her fourth great-grandfather was involved in the Atlantic slave trade, which shows that she has a connection, albeit painful, to the slave trade as one of the sellers, not one of the purchased. Now, she's often shared how her mixed heritage shapes her worldview, and I can respect that. She positions herself as a representative of the Afro-Latino experience. I respect that. But here's the issue. While her identity is valid and multifaceted, it is not the same as that of a foundational Black American. Yet, like Joy Reid, Sonny frequently comments on issues impacting Black Americans as if her background fully aligns with the FBA experience. And this conflation dilutes the specific history and struggles of those whose ancestors built this nation from the ground up. Roland Martin, a seasoned journalist and commentator born on November 14, 1968 in Houston, Texas. Now, his maternal great-grandparents are from Haiti, and they moved to Louisiana. And they brought a rich blend of African, French, and Caribbean influence into their cultural identity. Growing up in Houston's 3rd Ward, which is predominantly African American, I'm certain that he was immersed in a vibrant cultural environment that shaped his perspective and career. I'm from 3rd Ward. In fact, it sounds like he was in 3rd Ward at the same time I was living in 3rd Ward. Now, of course, I traveled back and forth from Los Angeles, South Central to 3rd Ward, but I understand. Now, Roland shares some ties to the African American community. His Haitian roots, however, distinguish his heritage from foundational Black Americans. And despite this, Roland often positions himself as a thought leader of all Black Americans, using his platform to critique and comment on issues specific to FBAs without fully acknowledging the difference in experiences and perspectives. What unites these folks, Reid, Hostin, and Martin, is not just their prominence in the media, but their tendency to overstep their bounds and present themselves as representatives of foundational Black Americans, even though none of them identify as such. Let me be clear. They're not like us. They're not like us. They're not like us. And they do not and cannot speak for foundational Black Americans. The history, the culture, the struggle of FBAs is very unique. We are the descendants of enslaved Africans who built this country with their blood, sweat, and tears. And we fought for civil rights, voting rights, equal opportunities, not just for ourselves, but for all people of color who now benefit from those hard-won victories. And yet many of these prominent figures distance themselves from our culture and our history while simultaneously leveraging our struggles to amplify their own voices and careers. They often fail to acknowledge the distinction between their immigrant or diasporic heritage and the specific experience of those whose families have been here for generations. enduring systematic oppression while laying the foundation for this nation. Instead, they use their platforms to critique foundational Black Americans for political choices, often chastising us for supporting leaders or policies they disagree with. But let me tell you something. It's not their place. To Joy Reid, Sonny Hostin, and Roland Martin, and others like them, you do not speak for us. Your backgrounds, while valuable and valid, do not give you the authority to dictate what is best for foundational Black American people or to chastise us for our political decisions. Foundational Black Americans are more than capable of speaking for ourselves, charting our own course, and deciding what is in our best interest, something that we have done for 5 centuries in this country. If you truly care about unity and progress, then step back. Let me say that again in a language you will understand. Step your ass back and recognize that your role is not to lead, but to listen. Acknowledge the differences in our experiences and respect the unique history and struggles of FBAs. And if you cannot do that, at the very least, stop claiming to represent us. See, this is a time for clarity and truth. Isn't that what Cat Williams said? It's 2024, the year of the truth. And foundational Black Americans will no longer allow others to hijack our narrative, dilute our struggles, or undermine our achievements. It's time to draw the line in the sand. You do not speak for us, and we will not let you pretend otherwise. Let me remind you, you are standing on the shoulders of foundational Black Americans. Everything you have, your platforms, your freedom to speak, and the opportunities that have allowed you to rise to prominence is the result of the blood, sweat, tears of Black Americans who fought, marched, sacrificed so that all of us could live in a better world. Yet instead of honoring that legacy, you use your platforms to undermine and shame those who don't conform to your narrow view of politics and cultures. Your disdain for the growing number of foundational Black Americans and other Black Americans who supported Donald Trump in this last election isn't just misplaced, it is hypocritical. You speak of unity while sowing division. You claim to uplift the community, yet you disrespect and condemn the very people who are trying to take control of their political destinies. Let me tell you something. Foundational Black Americans do not need gatekeepers. And we certainly don't need lectures from individuals who seem more invested in maintaining their positions in the mainstream media than in truly representing the interests of Black people. When you criticize foundational Black Americans for choosing to vote for Donald Trump or any damn body that they want to vote for, you fail to acknowledge the historical context and nuanced reasoning behind that decision. You ignore the fact that many Black Americans are tired of being taken advantage of and taken for granted by one political party or another, especially one that has delivered very little in return for the past 6 decades of our unwavering support. And instead of asking why so many Black Americans decided to give Trump our vote, a Republican candidate who received more Black support than any other it has in the past 70 years, you dismiss them as misguided and ignorant or even traitorous. That is arrogance on your part. And that's part of the problem. See, your rhetoric, along with others like you, has done nothing but widen the gap between foundational Black Americans and other members of the African diaspora, many of whom you seem to pander to. See, you emphasize your immigrant roots. You often push narratives that elevate foreign Black cultures over foundational Black American cultures. But you came here. You came here and you abandoned your homeland and you came here to where we were. We didn't ask for you. You don't think we noticed that? Do you think we're blind? When you take credit for all your great accomplishments and your flags come out, your Jamaican flags come out, your Nigerian flags come out, your Trinidadian flags come out, your Ghanaian flags come out. You think we're blind to that? Do you think we don't hear the disrespect when you talk about our culture or the lack of culture you say we have? You don't see that we see that you distance yourself from our history and our struggle when it suits your agenda? We see that. Here's a reality. Foundational Black Americans have a unique history and culture in this country. We have fought for our survival. We fought for the rights of all marginalized groups, not just ourselves. Yes, some of you have taken great strides to separate yourselves from us, loudly proclaiming your allegiance to your ancestral homelands, while simultaneously enjoying the freedoms and opportunities won right here in the good old US of A by foundational Black Americans. To Joy Reid, Roland Martin, and others like you, let me give you some advice. Stop trying to shame foundational Black Americans for their choices. Stop using your platforms to divide a community that has already been fractured by centuries of oppression and systematic racism. And most importantly, stop weaponizing your immigrant narratives to undermine the contributions of foundational Black Americans. And if you cannot support us, at least do us the courtesy of stepping aside. Let foundational Black Americans speak for ourselves. Let us decide for ourselves. We don't need your commentary. We need your solidarity, if anything, or at least we need your silence. This is a new day, and the American people have spoken. And foundational Black Americans are taking control of our destiny, whether you like it or not. And if you're not part of the solution, then step yourself aside and let us do what we have to do. Because we are invested in our true progress and we're ready to move forward. Now, I would like to take the time to thank all the people who've contributed to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. I appreciate you guys. If you've learned something tonight, today, this afternoon, wherever you are, go ahead and contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. If not, that's cool, baby. But I want to give a big shout out to everybody who contributed to the Cash App, and I'm not finished yet. I got some more to say. But I want to make sure I give a shout out to Mr. Senyoke on my Cash App. Thank you so much, fam. My Cash App. Big shout out to Timothy Bright. He said, we made Kamala Indian again. You messy. You made an Indian again. Shout out to Corey Joe Better. He said, hit the like button. Thanks. No problem, brother. Thank you so much. Shout out to Black Sand. This move will save the USA. Thank you for your service to our community. Thank you so much, fam. We got 15 super chats. 20 would have been plenty, but 15 is clean. We got 15 super chats. Let me read all the rest of these. Timothy Bright, respect to Trump. World leaders want to end. Well, yeah. They don't want no smoke. Isn't that something when you get the right pilot at the helm? The clouds seem to clear away. That's interesting. Shout out to Trump for that. Did y'all see him at, what is it called, the UFC? You see him at UFC? Man, the man came into the arena and everybody cheered. Shout out to him. Good for morale. Thanks, Dennis Spurling. Keep up the good work. It's appreciated. Thank you too, fam. Appreciate you, Corey. Too tall. Right on, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Mr. Saginaw, thank you for the $9.99. Queen Lioness Judah, thank you so much for the super sticker. Cooley, I'm Black American, man. I bought an investment property in South Africa. I'm also renting an apartment in Uganda with my fiance. I'm going to buy land there and start a farm. I'm retiring in 7 years. Good for you, brother. Keep up the good work, man. Thank you so much, Uncle D. And I was talking about how the new American dream is getting the hell out of America, which is ironic. My man, Digital Nomad, just a little support, brother. Thank you so much. We are the people, 62. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you again for the $4.99 super sticker from We Are the People. And who else we got in here? Shout out to Boxing Logistics, FBA, 100% Jamaicans from Little Jamaica. Better chill out. An island of 3.5 million with the highest red rum rate in the world. Yeah, y'all need to chill out, man. Don't come up here criticizing the United States. We don't need that. That's not cool. Nobody is going to go to your island and talk bad about you on your island. That's ridiculous. And that just adds to the fodder. But shout out to Internet Passport. Blizzard King is speaking facts, great thoughts. Thank you so much, fam. Mercer, Panama, $5 super sticker. Good looking out. Look, did y'all learn something today? Did you pick up something today? Did you learn something today? I hope you did. Now, before I leave, I'm gonna give you another dose of this Blizzard message. That's what we're gonna do. Shout out to my man Chukwe Igwe, respect. Dennis Spurling, salute to Premium Black. Good looking out, fam. I appreciate you. And also my man Reg Turner, support Black male media. Look, let me go ahead and put a nail in this, man. Now, the title of this broadcast is Dear Illegal Immigrants, Time to Go Home. Somebody type time to go home in the chat room. Shout out to my man. You spoke very eloquently for FBA. It was on point and heartfelt. Thank you so much. No, thank you too, fam. I appreciate y'all. Good. God bless all y'all, man. But I want to go ahead and nail this thing. Now, I want y'all to understand something. Now, as I said, somebody type time to go home in the chat room. Game's over. It's over. All roads come to an end somewhere. For you illegal immigrants, this is your new live reality right now. This is the reality of what America truly is, something that foundational Black Americans have been explaining for generations. Unfortunately, cruelty and inhumane treatment of your fellow human beings is not unknown in the United States. This land of prosperity, this so-called land of milk and honey, it's been built on the backs of foundational Black Americans. And Native Americans can also understand the deep cruelty of systematic oppression in this country. Hell, here's a fact you didn't know. Did you know the largest group of people lynched in America were Italians down in New Orleans? Because that's where they landed first. And it was so racist down there, they ran them out of New Orleans and they ended up in New York, in New Jersey. Did you know that? They had signs up, since we're talking about how cruel America has been. They had signs up that said no immigrants, no Mexicans, no dogs, along with the no blacks and Negroes and color. That's America. But y'all didn't believe Black folks. See, now many of you took for granted the struggles of foundational Black Americans. You took for granted the struggles that we've had to endure. And now you're feeling the sting of that same cruelty firsthand. You're beginning to experience the cold, hard reality of what we've been trying to tell you fools all along. But here's the harsh truth. Because of your lack of loyalty, and I'm talking to you folks from the diaspora, your lack of loyalty, And I'm also talking to all you other immigrants who are here from Mexico and China and everywhere else, your Arab folk, your anti-black racism and your disdain for foundational black Americans. You will have none of us standing with you to help you with this fight. You on your own. Consider this. Donald Trump has already appointed 3 Supreme Court justices, and he might have the opportunity to appoint 2, maybe 3 more conservative justices in this next term. So you won't receive any relief from the judiciary. And Trump is not just creating policies for today. He's building a legacy for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. His vice presidential pick and these cabinet appointees, he's filled it up with young men, young people in their 40s. This is the signal, this is the sign of the beginning of a cultural shift that could dominate this country for decades. He's establishing a dynasty through his policies and his appointments and his political maneuvers. It wouldn't be surprising if one of his children, one of his sons or his daughter runs for president or vice president or another high office in the future. See, this is not just about politics. It's calculated. It's a long-term strategy. The political horse trading happening right now. You got appointments made in exchange for future endorsements. He's laying the groundwork for an enduring nationalist movement. Trump's administration is draining the swamp. He's removing entrenched bureaucrats and reshaping the system. So you won't find relief from the deep state because it's going to be dismantled. You won't find relief in the judiciary because the courts have been packed. See, what you're witnessing now is a nationalist movement putting Americans first. This is your day of reckoning. And it's a hard lesson. But it's one you're going to have to learn. See, the thing about it is, I'm not worried about foundational black Americans. We've been through this time and time again. From the horrors of slavery, which you say, oh, that's in the past. You told us that this was, don't, that's too long ago. Yeah. To the oppressions of Jim Crow. Oh, that's been long ago. Yeah. That's what you told us. Get over it. You're talking to people who've had all of their great leaders assassinated. Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, or humiliated, or undermined. We've had to deal with a prison industrial complex that targeted our communities. They flooded our communities with dope. And then they put the people who got addicted in jail, and they put the people who sold it to them in jail. But they never put the people who shipped and boated that stuff to the United States in jail. Think about that. But we're still here. See, through systematic financial targeting designed to keep us impoverished, we're still here. To the calculated destruction of our families and destabilization of our communities through political policies imposed by the Democratic Party to separate the men from the women with welfare, EBT, uplifting the woman, pushing the man down. We've been there and done that. So we built for this. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to be fine. Let me say that again. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to be fine. I'm talking about foundational black Americans because of our culture. That same culture that you say we don't have, that you say is ignorant, that you say is violent. It's that same culture that was designed and created to help us endure these hardships and survive oppression and come out strong on the other side. That same damn culture. That's why we're able to endure the worst and emerge from this chapter of American history intact and thriving. We're going to be all right. So while you're facing your own reckoning, we'll see you on the other side. If you make it. Because see, now it's your turn. But you don't have our help. This is Uncle D. I'm out.
Dennis Spurling Podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe.